Hello my friends, I know it's been so long since I've seen you. I am of course Sean Ferrick for Trek Culture, and we are continuing our video breakdowns of all the things that came out of the Star Trek San Diego Comic-Con panel reveals. Now don't forget to go back and check the video that we've already released on the breakdown of the Picard Season 3 teaser. Might I say again for the record, oh my god, Worf. Folks, thank you so much for the support you're showing this channel. We're at about 220,000 subscribers and we are pushing for the 250. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. Every time you do, it grows. It gives us the opportunity to make these kind of videos and to reach out to the people behind the scenes on Star Trek as well. So please, don't forget to do that. You are a bunch of wonderful legends. Now, as you can tell by my uniform, it's Lower Decks we're moving on to now. And there was quite a few things to come out of Comic-Con. I will be going through the trailer momentarily, but just a couple of little bits just before we get going. One is the introduction of a new character, a new alien species in Season 3. These are the Chromsapioids. Try saying that 10 times fast. And the character is called Cranch. There was a lot of inspiration taken from the Deep Space Nine episode Captive Pursuit for this character. Basically, in Captive Pursuit, you had the character of Tosk, whose entire raison d'etre was to be hunted. Cranch is the other side of that. He is trying to hunt. That's what he does. And he spends an entire episode trying to hunt Boimler down. Because, as Jack Quaid revealed on the panel as well, Boimler is having his bold season. This is his year of saying yes. Basically, Tendi encourages him to take a few more risks, and he says yes to everything, leading directly to him getting hunted by Cranch for an entire episode. So I can't wait to see that. As we know, Season 2 finished off with Captain Freeman being taken into custody for the destruction of Pakled Planet, and it's safe to say that those charges aren't gonna stick, as is seen in the trailer throughout, with lots and lots of appearances from Captain Freeman. The cast for Lower Decks got together sans Cordero to discuss what it's like recording the series, and while they all talked about how much fun and how interesting and how, you know, slightly challenging it has been, Jack Quaid dropped the little tidbit that he's never met Eugene Cordero in person. As is the nature of animated style recording, you don't have to be in the same room at the same time to do that. Now that is something that's going to come back in the trailer breakdown. Now normally when we do a trailer breakdown, we might go like, 10, 9, 8, 7. And quite frankly, if we were to do that, it would be something like 40, 39, 38. So instead, for the Lower Decks Season 3 trailer, I am going to invite you to come along and join me at Cetacean Observations. Let's get into it. The trailer shows us a lot of excitement and a lot of fun that's coming in Season 3. A little bit of pathos as well between Mariner and Freeman, but let's break it down in order. First shot we get the shuttle flying over the station that we previously saw in Envoys, the Federation Embassy. That was back in Season 1. That shuttle is very evocative of some of the early John Eves sketches for shuttles. Now we see our Federation Embassy returns again, and it's almost like this, like a career day lined up outside with lots of different tents. Some of the alien races that are in attendance of this career day include an Ariolo. Now that is a centaur-like alien that was introduced back in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. Now that did of course appear before, again in the episode Envoys. It's right down the bottom of the screen. It's a real blink and you'll miss it moment. We see a Klingon, we see a Lurian. Now we see a Vorgon, who are of course the aliens that were chasing Picard and Vash in the episode Captain's Holiday, Season 3 of Star Trek The Next Generation, searching for the mythical Tox Uthat. We have the Collectors Guild with that gold-plated alien, who is in fact called Paylor Toff. There we are. Paylor Toff was one of the aliens who the Kivus Fajo was showing off his new toy Data to in that episode. But yes, very distinctive because of the metal that's basically sticking out of his face. The Collectors Guild had previously appeared on Star Trek Lower Decks in Season 2. Now we see some Antedian delegates. Make sure that we check their robes for explosives. The Independent Archaeologists Guild are set up beside Boimler and Mariner. Now we see a pillar in the background that looks awfully like the pillars that appeared in the TNG episode Masks. Put a pin in that one, we're coming back to that one. Sitting on the table in front of Mariner and Boimler is a beautiful model of a Constellation class ship, much like the Stargazer, the original Stargazer, I should add. Right beside Boimler, if you look carefully, there's a mannequin of what seems to be Spock from the original series beside the Horta that was introduced in The Devil in the Dark. Also, fun fact, there was a model of a Horta that you could take pictures with at Destination Star Trek London in 2021. Mariner invites people to come and discover the undiscovered country. We cut back then to the stripped Cerritos sitting in dry dock. Now we know in the events of the season finale of season 2, they had to remove the outer hull from the Cerritos to save the Archimedes, and it seems that they're not just going to do a magical, oh, he didn't get out of the cock-a-doodle car moment. We are picking up from that. As this is being stolen, we see that the two men on duty are playing 3D chess on the computer, which I just think is hilarious. Now the Federation News Network appears. It's not as much fun as we have the Federation News Network, but anyway, that's fine. And they make reference to a Zac Dorn, and they make reference to the Buffalo Sugar Knights and the London Kings in Game 1 of ELDS, which I could not, for the life of me, place. Please let me know in the comments if you know what that is a reference to. Memory Alpha, you failed me. We cut then to Sisko's Creole Kitchen. Sorry, I got a bit excited there. Sisko's Creole Kitchen. We are in New Orleans. We see Rutherford sitting in a very Jake Sisko inspired uniform. Well, top, tunic, whatever you want to call it. With Tendi. Sitting in front of them, of course, is a bottle of Ketracel white sauce. The detail in this show. We cut then to a shot of basically a space station that looks awfully like, you can just see at the back there, Regular 1. Cut the legs off it and you've got Starbase 375 as well. Flip it upside down and you've got the orbital office from Star Trek The Motion Picture. Now we have a shot of some flying turtles. That's nice, isn't it? Page 2. We see Rutherford and Billups being treated to some lovely Hawaiian-style getaway, and where Ransom is talking about you can't just be relying on being treated by exotic aliens with slightly different nose ridges all the time. Every single alien race from TNG and DS9 just being called out there, really. Brilliant. Got all that different lovely tech equipment in Boimler's baldric leading up to him holding the Type 3 phaser rifle. We have stealing the Cerritos, which is of course a reference to stealing the Enterprise from Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. And actually, if you see the posters that have been revealed for both the characters and Season 3 itself, it's very heavily inspired by the theatrical poster for Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. So I do love that they're meeting that head on in this season. As the Cerritos warps away, if you look carefully in the ozone, words fail me, of the planet, you see what looks like orbital platforms. Jump forward just a tiny little bit in the trailer. We see Mariner skydiving down along these, which must be a reference to Star Trek 09. While that was a different setting, that was of course the drill that dropped down from the Narada. That is almost shot for shot the same scene here. So I thought that was a wonderful little visual reference that was going on in there. I have to give a shout out to Jörg Hillebrand for this, and just his incredible eye for detail. He caught this within seconds of the trailer being released. We see Mariner basically Indiana Jonesing her way out of some sort of archaeological dig, holding what on first glance looks like the idol from Raiders of the Lost Ark in her hand. It's not. It's a Klingon idol. Now this is based on the design made by model maker Greg Jean, rest in peace, for the episode Dax of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. If you look on Twitter, you will see Jörg and Mike Okuda discussing this. I mean, that is attention to detail. Come on, Star Trek Lower Decks. That is incredible. And who is speaking over this scene? It's J.G. Hertzler, who seems to be reprising the role of Martok in Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3. I'm just overwhelmed at this point. While he's talking, there's an overhead shot of Rutherford, Boimler, Tendi, and Mariner. Looks like they're playing like a flat version of Caddiscot. It looks like Tendi's holding a mek'leth, and you've got Rutherford holding what seems to be the knife of Kieran. So, that seems to be quite the historical artifact. It's got the blood of Kahless on it. He's obviously got some connections. Now we then cut to Rutherford wearing the Delta Flyer drive uniform, piloting what seems to be at least a Delta Flyer class shuttle. And if you look at the race beacons around it, basically it looks like we're getting a redo of the episode Drive from Star Trek Voyager, which is just bloody cool. We then cut to Freeman being tormented by puppies and bunnies. Don't know what it's a reference to. Love it anyway. Dr. T'Ana is just wonderful. She's brilliant. But T'Ana Chainsaw Massacre. Okay, I like it. A chainsaw with, or I should say a bone saw, a medical instrument, with the Starfleet emblem on it, is both wonderful and terrifying. Now, we then go to Mariner and Tendi in their underwear saving Boimler. Again, no idea what the context is, possibly to do with Cranch chasing Boimler. Either way, does anyone wear a uniform for longer than an hour in Star Trek Lower Decks? While the Delta Flyer seems to be racing, it's crashed by a Romulan Warbird. I don't really fancy the Delta Flyer's chances, I'm not going to lie. Now, we then cut, rather hilariously, to Freeman wearing the mask of Masaka from TNG Masks. I did say we would come back to that, because actually, if you look, when Mariner is doing her skydive down along the tower, we see her parachute deploys with what seems to be the symbol of Masaka on the parachute. It then immediately fails. Then Freeman is just hovering along the corridors of Cerritos while the ship transforms behind her. This is all, again, so evocative of TNG Season 7 episode Masks. It's not an amazing episode, but I will say it's good fun and deserves a bit of a rewatch. So apparently, go back and check that one out before Season 3 of Lower Decks. I've actually run out of pages in that pad. I've moved on to another pad. Mother of... We see the return of Peanut Hamper for some reason. So basically, well, she seems to be a Starfleet officer, so I'm hoping they did save her, but, you know, she seems to be screaming anyway. And suddenly we've got a spiky-headed blue shirt sitting there as well, which is all quite wonderful. Star Trek Lower Decks has been wonderful for showing so much love to Star Trek, the animated series, and that looks in no sign of slowing down, because we have the return of a character from Star Trek the Animated Series. The episode How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth introduced the character of Kukulkan. Funny story about Kukulkan, because this winged serpent, which was I think a decent effort to try and introduce some native mythology into Star Trek. It wasn't perfect, but it was at least an effort. There's actually a canonical issue in the episode which ties back into what we were discussing earlier about the cast recording separately. All the way back in the 70s, William Shatner was not in the room recording for this episode with other cast members. Spock correctly says Kukulkan because Leonard Nimoy had the correct script in front of him. William Shatner pronounced it Kuklakan because there was no one there to supervise him. So quite frankly, they're both kind of correct and also wrong. So either Kukulkan or Kuklakan will be appearing in Season 3 of Lower Decks. He was something of a collector, a teacher. You know, he would put people into a menagerie, which of course we know is part of Star Trek history as well. So, in the fact that he's chasing some of the characters of Lower Decks, is he trying to put them in his menagerie again? Let's find out. Now they seem to be hauling dilithium crystals out of a cavern at one point, and we get what seems to be, there must be some sort of alternate universe thing going on here, because we have Rutherford in another new uniform. It seems to be a combination of the first contact one with white piping around the edges of the shoulders. But look just behind him. You've got Boimler with 4 pips on his shoulder, or 4 pips on his throat. So is this a shot of them in the future, or is this some sort of alternate history, or is it simply a disguise going on? Remains to be seen. As Boimler is presumably trying to escape from Cratch, he arrives in Cetacean operations, and running full pelt, he just dives straight into the tank, thoroughly annoying the whales. Because of course they're just like, hey, don't jump in with your dirty shoes, that's just messed up, man. There is a reveal of this planet that seems to be bringing nightmares to life. These nightmares are including a Borg snake, potentially a werewolf version of Ransom, and this is a legitimate sentence I've written down, A clown Klingon with batleth for arms, probably playing Nightbird on a trombone. The trailer ends with something that was both so funny I started laughing hard, and so emotional I actually got teary-eyed. The Cerritos arrives at Deep Space Nine. Freeman asks for them to buy her some time, and so the Helms officer turns to Ransom and says, how do I do that? And Ransom just says, just fly around and act awed of the pylons. And we are then given a beautiful shot of the Cerritos panning around Deep Space Nine while Dennis McCarthy's Emmy-winning theme tune plays in the background. We get a beautiful shot of the wormhole opening. It's all just wonderful. It ends, and then she goes, what do I do now? She says, just keep going. Just keep going. And yes, please do. It is absolutely impossible that I have managed to catch everything in this trailer, so please do let me know in the comments below if there's anything you caught that definitely deserves to be shouted out. The release for Star Trek Lower Decks will come on August 25th. I cannot wait, absolutely cannot wait. There is, of course, other big news regarding Star Trek Lower Decks and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Keep an eye on the channel and we'll come back to you with that one. Now, in the meantime, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. As I say, you are massively helping this channel and you'll be able to stay up to date with all of the news. I have, of course, been Sean Ferrick for Trek Culture. You can catch us over on Twitter at Trek Culture. You can catch myself at Sean Ferrick on all of the usuals. Now, I will be, again, back to you very, very soon. In the meantime, live long and prosper. What a time to be a Trekkie.